SMQBs episode 114. Feeling a little rough today after the Miami Grand Prix weekend extravaganza brought to us by our friends at Assembly. So
Crypto.com.
114. I guess that's the points the Celtics had in beating the Sixers the other night for a 2-1 lead. 114, 102, isn't that right?
Okay. Guess you had a little too much to drink to miss last night's game.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say
it didn't age well, man.
I think it's caught up now, right?
You too. We have some good NBA playoffs. I'm sure we'll talk about that today. We have some really good NBA playoffs.
Yeah, there is good playoff stuff to talk about.
Playoffs, bad coaching.
Yes.
Interesting. That'll be interesting. Well, we're gonna start with F1. We had a number of your SMQB correspondents who were present for the race. I guess I'll get it started and just sort of tee it up a little bit that maybe the most interesting thing that happened all weekend was that because Charles Leclerc crashed out with 3.5 minutes to go in Q3, the grid setup was a little wacky. You had Max Verstappen at 9th on the grid. And really because he didn't get to do his real let it loose flying lap out there at the end of the day. And the guys who went out and banked the fast lap early got good grid position compared to those who didn't get a fast lap in like Max. So you had him starting in 9th. And I don't think that made one bit of difference in who the favorite was going to be. And it certainly played out that way, or the outcome, right? And it played out that way. And believe it or not, I think that is the first time somebody from 9th place on the grid has won an F1 Grand Prix.
Really?
I thought I recall Lewis doing that from 10th place a year or two ago.
Oh, people have won further back. I think you're just saying 9th.
Oh, you're just saying from 9th.
Yeah.
From 9th. Okay.
Yeah.
But like, first of all, I'm very curious, very, very curious about your experience there and how much info you have relative to the people on TV. So for example, we see on TV all the different tire styles that they're using. Did you know when Max was starting that he started on hards?
Yeah, we knew that because there's a TV right where we were. But we don't know it from just watching the race. It's hard to hear the announcer. You get better information from the TV on things like that. What I'll tell you, you can't appreciate it all from the TV is just how fast these cars go. I mean, I've been watching F1 now with all of you guys for 3 years. When you see these cars opening up on a straightaway, it's a blur. You're just basically watching a blur of color go by. It's so fast. It's just amazing.
Yeah, Nace sent a video. I don't know where you were, but it captured what you're talking about. I mean, just on video is unbelievable. Like, the fact that there's a human being in that vehicle is crazy. I mean, it's just a snap of your finger.
So, you guys watched some undercard stuff, including a Porsche race, right?
Yeah.
So,
which included some amateurs, by the way.
Are there
really?
always undercards?
Yeah.
What's the speed comparison like as you're watching it and the blur of a Porsche versus an F1 car?
Well, I looked it up actually, and they say that the cars competing in the Carrera Cup, which is what it was, their top speed is about 175 miles an hour, and the F1 cars hit a top speed. I think the fastest top speed of the weekend was 207. But they're all over.
There was a 220.
I don't know if they got that high, but maybe 212. But anyway, but during the race, the F1 cars they're getting over 200 miles an hour on the straightaways with the DRS open and then on the straightaways. So they are faster. I think the real performance difference, because that doesn't sound like that much, right? 175 to I think the real performance difference is the turns. I think that the F1s take some of those turns twice as fast as the Porsches do.
You know, also interestingly, the Porsches are louder than the F1s, I found. But one thing we could definitely tell from another thing from just aside from the speed is where we were seated. I forget what turn number we were. Bison will know.
3, yeah.
They're coming out of an S turn into a short straightaway, followed up by a right-hand curve. You could tell the better drivers by how they set up to take that curve at the end of the straightaway. But you know, the good ones are taking it in tight, and the drivers on the Haas team and the others are like taking a big wide turn and losing a fraction of a second on each turn doing that. And you can see it really well in person.
Well,
It is an experience to be at. I mean, the noise and the sound and the speed, it really is just an unbelievable experience to see.
How many people went to this one? Do they have an attendance?
I don't know. Let me see if I can figure that out. I hadn't heard that yet.
They beat the attendance record from the first year. They did announce that.
How is
They're
the track
worried
set
that
up
it wasn't
there?
going to happen.
Like, where isn't it? It's near the stadium, right? The football stadium.
It's around the stadium.
It's around the stadium. Okay.
It's incorporated into the stadium. Yeah.
Do the
Which
drivers
makes viewing
generally-
even harder.
Do they like this track? You know, what are their thoughts on it?
So after last year, they basically called it a Mickey Mouse shit, and they they did an entire new track, new surface this year. They took 3 inches off of the old surface and worked with a company that specializes in Formula One tracks, basically brought them in. I haven't heard any feedback yet, but I'll tell you, it was also much, much cooler this year than last year. And I'm sure that may have had something to do with it, but they just had a bad track last year. I don't know how that happens, but they had, like, after the first 2 qualifying sessions last year, they had to do track repairs because it was getting eaten up so much. Like, I don't know how that happens when you've been planning for years and years and years to bring a race, but they resurfaced the whole thing this year. I don't know. I don't know what they think of it. I mean,
I have a question for all of you. Now that Red Bull is so clearly head and shoulders better than everyone else, do you think the sport's in danger of becoming a little bit boring to some of the fans? I mean, there's no competition anymore.
I literally thought that question during the race. I was like, was this going to be like a little pandemic bump that people got into it and they're all crazy, but now it's boring because it's just, but when you think about it, yes, Max started to come on, but Mercedes did the same thing. And it was very, very popular. I think the real question will come, there are still some more rule changes coming, and it's supposed to create more parity. I think if this were to go on for 2 or 3 years straight, and they just dominated with the 2 drivers and Red Bull winning and coming first and second every race, I think you're right. I think people would start to get bored with it. They need to do something in the sport to create parity, because it's a rocket ship they're driving.
Their drivers are better too. Like one thing we saw from that Leclerc crash is he's not quite ready to be a champion. He makes too many mistakes. He just does.
Yeah.
Here's my question that I have for you guys that are there. So the other thing I saw on TV, of course, is that you see the interval of time between them. And so Max and Checo are out 15, 16, 17 seconds ahead of everybody else. Did you pay attention to that? Like, does it feel like 15, 16 seconds? Does it feel like, man, where is everybody else?
It seems like an eternity.
Yeah.
And then the interesting thing is, how much time does Max need to extend that gap in order to pit and come out ahead of Checo? And he just barely missed it, but he was only like a second. He's less than 2 seconds behind him, and had DRS and fresh tires, so he was able to catch him quickly.
Yeah. Okay. So what do they say? It takes 20 to 22 seconds. You lose in a pit stop. And so, they were watching that when Max was leading for so long, he could only get to 18 seconds in front of Checo, who had already pitted. And so, you knew he just couldn't get away. He couldn't get to that 20-second spot. So they sort of figured they had to bring him in. And they, because you're required to pit once, change tires once. So when they brought him in, Checo took over the lead again. Checo got around before Max was out, but Max was close enough that between being, I think, a better driver and the fresh tires and the DRS, it was only a matter of time.
Did the announcers on TV say anything about whether there was speculation that Red Bull brought Checo in too soon for his pit?
Yeah, I mean, there was a little bit of a question about that. I think they kind of just knew that the way this was set up, it's kind of ironic what Bison was saying at the top. I think the fact that they didn't finish qualifying gave Max an advantage to start on those hards. I just think it allowed him to be out there forever. What lap was it? 40, 41 that he came in?
Yeah. It seemed like if there wasn't the rule, he wouldn't even have pitted.
Crazy. What kind of fan experience, like besides the race itself, like are there cool things that you can do? Do they give fan experiences?
Yeah, they do. I mean, one thing you got to realize is the campus, the footprint of the track is enormous. I mean, the stadium is like one little tiny part of what's happening there. It's a football stadium. I mean, right? It's an enormous facility, and it just sort of blends into everything else almost. So they had a lot of stuff. I mean, they had the pit challenge where you could go and swap a tire. They had a lot of different places had, games set up where like video game rigs and things like that for you to drive. We did one day, we walked into a pop-up place away from the facility in one of the neighborhoods here in Miami. And they had the light test, the reaction time test, where they flash a light and you have to hit it. And that was kind of fun.
I was drunk and I scored half as many as Bison.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That is true.
Good for you, man. Good for you.
So they do that. I'm really surprised to hear that there was more attendance this year than last year. It didn't feel to me like the excitement and the extravaganza that was last year. Last year Miami had this insane buzz around town about Formula One, and you had the pictures of Jordan and Beckham and Lewis and Brady all there, and Michelle Obama was here, and I mean, it was just everything. And this year it didn't quite feel that way. Some of the celebrities that were here, Tom Cruise, Queen Latifah, Shakira, Ludacris, the Williams sisters, Roger Federer, Vin Diesel.
Mahomes, yeah.
No, Mahomes was at the was he here? He was at the
he was here.
Derby, I thought.
No, he was
here
at the Derby. Oh, he did.
CeCe Lamb and Dak Prescott were here too.
Dak.
Yeah, we think we crossed by Dak in a restaurant.
Oh, really?
Interesting.
We just missed them. Yeah, we think we just missed them. So, anyway, I'll be really curious. There was one bit of news, and I don't know if you all heard it on the broadcast, but they said that the Miami Grand Prix is in talks with F1 about doing a night race.
Oh,
that would be cool.
Yeah. So they said that at the stadium or at the track yesterday. Now they would have to build out lighting, and so I don't know when that would happen, and I don't know what prompted that, if it's the heat or what. But
that'd be
talking
wicked.
about a night race.
That'd be so wicked.
Yeah. So anyway, But as we kind of predicted, the only drama right now in F1 is can Checo catch his teammate, and this was not a good showing for Checo in that regard, right? I mean,
this was supposed to be more like a street race.
Yeah,
and that's his forte.
Yep. So
well, it was interesting. They asked. There was so much. I feel like there was extended pre-race coverage because I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but they asked Alonso if he thought he could actually win a race this year. And he was describing, the available tracks where it's a little bit, because their car doesn't do very well, apparently, on the straightaways. And so they need a little bit more tighter tracks. So he was talking about, like Monaco and a couple of the others. I wonder where Miami falls in all of that. It didn't look like it was super tight. It looked like there were some passing chances. It looked like it was kind of in the middle of all of them.
Yeah, I don't know, but I guess I heard Alonso say one thing too that was interesting about that was he felt like he was still looking in his rear view mirror, worried about Mercedes and Ferrari more so than looking ahead at the Red Bulls. So he feels like they're closer to them than they are to the Red Bulls at this point. But at the end of the day, and maybe the last word on this for today, the race wasn't very exciting. It's exciting to be there, but as far as an actual race goes, there weren't a lot of overtakes. There wasn't a lot of drama. There was no yellow flags or no red flags. And that's 2 years in a row without a very exciting race. And I don't know if that's because of the track or because of Red Bull or what it is right now, but they got to come up with a way to make this race exciting and not just an event, because if it's just an event, it will wear off. It's got to be a good sporting event. And so I'll be curious to see if they make any changes or do anything with the circuit to try and make it more competitive. And I mean, the race was over in an hour and a half. Because
isn't F1 always going to be, if you go there, depending on where you are, I guess, an event? I mean, how much of the race did you guys actually see, right? Like, you see one little portion, one little section.
Right.
It just feels like hey, I'm going to F1 on Sunday.
But they had so many TVs around that you are watching the race this year, which was a big improvement over last year. And again, there wasn't any drama. I mean, they're just even Max passing Perez at the end, it was kind of like they waved at each other as he went by him. Gave each other a thumbs up, same team.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know. I think that's it on F1. Unless anybody else negative.
Glad you guys went. Looked like an awesome time.
Yeah, it was fun. It was definitely a good time. So, and while that was happening, of course, we have the NBA playoffs house, right? And you and Rooster are in the thick of this here. What's going on?
We are in the thick of it. I think both hanging on by the skin of our teeth. It's very, very stressful. I mean, it's like really, really stressful. The Sixers, I think, really blew an opportunity to win both the games at home. We knew that we weren't going to win both of them in Boston. We snuck away with that game one win, got blown out in game two, and had a chance in the fourth and just didn't play well. But the real shame of it was, and I have up for those who are listening on a podcast and don't see the background, you'll check it out on YouTube. But hopefully you all saw the MVP award given to Embiid before the game. It was pretty cool. He brought his parents over from Cameroon, and then he saw his kid Arthur as he was giving his speech, and then Arthur wanted to be with his daddy, and he ran up, and B just broke down in tears. It was a pretty great moment. It was really, you could see, this giant of a man. You could see like his humanity in that moment, and it's just a shame that he couldn't pull off that Game 3 win after having gotten the MVP. But yesterday, Harden was just out of this world after having played like crap, and they should have won it easy. They were up by 15 in the third and then let Boston back into the game. Boston is such incredibly tenacious D on the perimeter. The Sixers' problem, and I've been having all these, text little fights with our fellow Sixers fans up here in Philly. They're just a pick and roll team it's a 2-man game. So when you're in the fourth quarter and you're trying to hold on for dear life, where you're trying to get back the lead after you're down 2 or 3 points, Harden gets the ball and either tries to shimmy and shoot, or it's a pick and roll to get the ball to Embiid. The other 3 players on the floor are almost irrelevant, and that's a problem. That's not sustainable against this team. I think we're going to get blown out in Game 5. Maybe we win Game 6, and we'll see if they can put it together for Game 7. It's just the worst team that matches up to us. Horford is the only guy that gets in Embiid's head. Nobody else does. He was in Embiid's head again in the fourth quarter, and it's tough. But the other series are great. I mean, this Golden State LA series is great. The Knicks Miami series is great. And yesterday, the Suns coming back to even it up against Jokic. I mean, these are some great series. Did you guys get to watch any of it?
Yeah. Jokic scored 53 points and they lost.
Yeah.
There really are, to me, there's 3 players who are, well, I guess I could make it 4, but there's 3 or 4 players who are critical to what happens in these games. Anthony Davis,
Booker.
Well, I've got Harden and Chris Paul because he's not playing.
Interesting.
And I was going to add Jimmy Butler to that, but I think those 3 guys, depending, I mean, where would the Sixers be without Harden? It'd be 3-0, wouldn't it?
I mean,
he's been clutching
Embiid played well enough in Game 3 for them to win. Harden played like crap. I mean,
yeah, but he hit a big shot, didn't he?
You could say if Harden played really well, they could be up 3-1.
Well, that's okay. So there you go. That's my point too. I mean, the teams seem to live and die by those players, particularly Davis in LA. He is by far the most important player on the court as far as how that series turns out.
That's true. I was just saying Booker's playing out of his mind. I think he's playing like one of the top 3 to 5 players in the league in this playoffs. But I think it's time to talk about the coaching that we've seen, particularly on my Knicks. I'm sounding like a broken record here saying that the Knicks win when they play team offense. And every time they decide to let Jalen Brunson dribble around, guarded by 2-3 guys, and he refuses to pass the ball, and his teammates just decide they're going to stand around and watch that, they lose. And for Tom Thibodeau to just not take him aside and say, you can't do this or I'm going to bench you, that's on him. I just think he's doing a bad job with Brunson, and I think Joe Mazzulla on the Celtics is not ready to be a playoff coach. He just isn't. There's no way that James Harden should be standing open in the corner of the 3-point line, down 2 in overtime. Let him tie the game and go into another overtime. You're a deeper team. You have a better bench. Don't double team Embiid in the paint off of Harden's guy. That's stupid. Call a timeout and make it clear you can't do that.
Mazzulla had 2 possessions at the end of regulation and in overtime where he sat on timeouts in his pocket and never used them. I just don't get that. They were down after Harden hit that shot to take the lead. There was 18 seconds, and I think he didn't want maybe the Sixers to be able to get in DeAnthony Melton, because they knew that both Harden and Maxey, who are poor defenders, were on the floor. But I agree with you, Rooster. I think the crazy thing is the Celtics could win this series, could steamroll either the Heat or the Knicks, play for the finals, and we're calling him a bad coach. But I agree. He made some questionable decisions. He really did.
This, his first coaching job in the NBA was as an assistant with the Celtics in 2019. Before that, he was the head coach of Fairmont State. Before that, he was an assistant at Glenville State, and then at some, D League or whatever, Maine Red Claws. So he had one head coaching job, which was at Fairmont State. And his first head coaching job is a couple 3 years after he enters the league. I mean, Ime Udoka really put the Celtics in a bad spot, but they need to do a better job of replacing him. They couldn't elevate that guy. He wasn't ready.
Rooster, back to the Knicks. So I'm a Brunson fan. I mean, who's he really supposed to distribute the ball to? Who's a true offensive weapon on that team? I feel like he doesn't have any other choice but to put the team on his shoulders.
When they run a motion offense, I think they ought to have, Quickly's hurt. That's the problem. I think Quickly ought to be the point guard. Brunson should be more of a shooting guard. When they run a motion offense and kick to an open guy for a three every now and then, it opens up the paint for Brunson to, drive into the paint and do his moves and put up a floater or whatever. But when they're packing the paint because they know that's the only offense and they're double teaming Brunson and he's still putting his head down trying to get into the paint, it just doesn't make sense. And then the offense becomes stagnant. Randall can be hot any given night. Randall could score you 30 to 40 any given night. And Quickly can score. They do some good. They have some good alley-oop plays to Mitchell Robinson. And then and Obi too. Obi Toppin runs a good alley-oop and can hit some threes. I mean, they're not a great shooting team. That's the problem, as you point out. But they can't just be stagnant. It's never worked.
Well, the one that I'm really the most fixated on, obviously, besides the Sixers, I thought Denver had this Phoenix team dead to rights.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Phoenix looked like such garbage in those first two games, but they really showed me something.
Yeah.
And I would love to see that series go 7. And I'm really not sure. I really am not sure now who wins that series. Because I think they're saying we'll give Jokic his and try to shut down everybody else. That's going to be just a great finish.
Is he getting suspended?
No,
I don't. No way.
They announced that he's not suspended.
Okay, they did announce it. Okay,
yeah.
Even Ishbia said, "Don't suspend him. He doesn't deserve to be suspended."
Right.
He's fined $25,000.
The longer that series goes, the worse it is for the Nuggets, who also have a very shallow bench.
Yeah.
Who do you guys have in the East and West finals? I mean, I'm assuming by the next podcast, these series are all over.
I'm going Celtics Suns.
Wow.
So you went you went all the way to the NBA finals.
No. I'm in the East and West finals.
Yeah. Milk wants who knows coming out of these series.
Heat Celtics in the East, Suns. I'm going to say Warriors, even though they're down 2-1 in the West.
Now, can the Heat hang with either the Sixers or the Celtics?
Yes.
They can.
They shouldn't have been able to hang with anyone in the playoffs, and they are. So I guess the answer is yes.
I think they'd have a much easier time hanging with the Sixers. I think the Celtics will have a tough time with, but I think it's going to be Celtics Heat. And I have the opposite of Rooster. I have the Nuggets pulling it out. I think home court will matter. And I think the Lakers are going to do it. I think LeBron is just LeBron. I think the Lakers are going to do it.
That would be kind of crazy, wouldn't it? I mean,
insane. It would be absolutely insane.
I mean, you guys discounted that team all season.
Well, no, wait on the you guys thing there. Wait on the you guys there. Somebody on here was on the bandwagon a long time.
Somebody has a little man love for LeBron.
It turned out okay. So who do you have, Milk?
I like the Lakers, obviously. I'm not giving up on the Sixers though. I think that win was huge, man.
It's a big one, but
I
was
think
Boston,
that-
Boston's a venomous place to play. Wait, what do you mean? Obviously, I like the Lakers. I
Yeah,
thought
what
you're a
does that mean?
LeBron
I didn't
hater.
understand that at all.
Because that's don't all people who don't follow the NBA like the Lakers?
Oh,
Well,
You
listen,
like
I
the
got,
Lakers or the Celtics, right? Are they any other?
I've got the Heat and the Sixers,
Yeah, I like that.
and then I'm going Lakers, Suns to set up the matchup of KD versus LeBron.
That
Oh,
would
we
be
had that?
exciting.
Yeah, I don't think
Uh,
we haven't seen
we
that
must have
really. have
seen
we?
that
Was he
on one of the Golden State Cleveland
Yeah,
matchups.
did they beat? Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I think
they
one
did.
of them was against.
Hope would know that one for sure.
This is going to be awesome when it's Lakers Celtics finals. This is like my dream. I can't wait.
Well, that would actually be a throwback. That would be kind of fun. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on NBA? Well, we got to talk. Moving on, then a little bit about the Kentucky Derby, and unfortunately, I'm not sure that the racing is really what should be the focus. We had the 149th running on Saturday. Toby, you seem to. I think you had a lucky pick there, right? Did you nail the winner?
Should have listened
Yeah,
to
baby.
House.
Try
Damn
to
it.
make you guys some money, but I don't know.
What was that horse's odds?
It's 15-1.
15? I thought it was
Yeah.
more. Okay.
What was it? Madge?
Yeah. Mage. But
Maybe.
here's the
Mage.
thing. I mean, it was definitely marred. The race and racing is marred by kind of the barbaric nature of the sport where 5 or 6 horses got killed, had to be euthanized that week.
Yeah.
One was like horrible. One was like the horse was like jumping up and down because they couldn't settle him, and the horse broke its own neck. A lot of foot injuries. I'm really hoping you guys can help me resolve, because I feel torn over this. I used to love horse racing, going to the track, even learning a little bit about, the handicapping of all this stuff. But I do feel a little conflicted right now about where this sport has been going over the last few years. It's a lot of deaths. Where do you guys come down on this?
You mean 5 days before 4 of the 5 SMQBs go to Churchill down?
Yeah.
Yeah, you better watch what you say.
Yeah.
Look, here's
Milk,
my
you take this one.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you make a good point about the physical nature of it, but just overall horse racing, you know what I feel like? I feel like we used to watch horse racing to see if someone was going to win the Triple Crown. Like the Triple Crown used, because it went like 30, 40 years without one, right?
Mhm.
And then there was like what, two or 3 years where they won. It happened twice. And I don't know anymore. Like there's that, that's not really a big deal anymore. It's become an event to me. Like the Kentucky Derby is an event.
It's a party.
And it's a party, and that's what it is. And that's great. But to your point, what are we doing with, these injuries? And I don't know why, if there's more than there used to be, or we just know about it now.
I mean, 7
Lost
deaths
its
in a
luster.
weekend.
It's lost its luster.
7 deaths in a weekend or a week is extraordinary. And I think this may be a situation where you don't have to condemn the sport as a sport or the Kentucky Derby, but maybe this is a situation of who are the people running it, who are the trainers, who are the owners. If you want this sport to be great, then you have to care for these animals.
Clean it up a little.
Who are the athletes, and maybe these folks just can't govern themselves appropriately.
that's what's happening.
So
They're going to
So-
go the way of boxing soon.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
That's a
It
great
is gonna
point.
be the
It
best.
feels like boxing. It feels like boxing now.
It does feel like boxing, but you know what? Like, we have people, maybe it's not direct that they're dying the week of, but we have people that are like committing suicide from CTE, basically going, and we're still watching. Like, we can't get enough of heads bashing into one another in football. I know it's not apples to apples, but still, that's where I'm like a little torn. Part of sports is it's physical and it's going to result in injuries. And the case of an animal like a horse, it could even result in death. For football players, it results in death too. It's just 30 years delayed. I don't know.
Yeah.
The problem with that analogy is that football players grew up dreaming of being a football player and making money being a football player. Horses don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Well, unless you say that some animals are bred to be certain things. Some dogs are bred to be certain things. Some horses are bred to be thoroughbreds. That's just how they come out, ready to race.
Yeah. Although they don't do greyhound racing anymore, right?
It's true. Not really. I don't think so.
Well, I hope there's somebody comes in and does an investigation on this, and I hope people are, this can't be coincidence, right? I don't know if they're using different drugs to train these animals or whatever, but something has to happen because it ruins it. It takes the luster off of the event, and that's seems like ultimately you don't want these things can be great events, but you got to get your shit together.
They're fun as shit, by the way. Like,
Yeah.
if you've ever been to one
Yeah.
of the Triple Crown races, like, great time. So it's unfortunate.
All right. Anything else on the Derby?
I'm going to move on to cockfighting.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, yeah. With that, it's time for the punchable face, isn't it?
Someone's got one.
I
Rooster
think
has
you
an
got
interesting
one. I
one.
think Rooster's got
I
one.
have one. It's like a situational punch. This whole run-in.
What in the
Between-
actual fuck does that mean?
It means there's
What a
lots of people
slap.
it means that lots of people are getting punched. It's going to be a melee. The
wow.
situation with
Respect my big laugh.
Jokic and the new owner of the Suns, Matt Ishbia, where the ball goes out of bounds and Jokic first of all breaks NBA rules and goes into the stands to get the ball. There's a rule that says if you do that, you're automatically ejected unless your momentum carries you into the stands. You're not allowed to do that after a couple of famous incidents. So he goes in there to get the ball. Wouldn't have helped him one bit to get the ball at that moment. The refs already blew the play dead. They would have had to blow in the whistle for an inbound to even occur at that point. So there was no urgency for him to get that ball. It shouldn't have been in there trying to grab it from a fan. At the same time, he didn't know this. The fan happened to be the owner of the Suns, the new owner of the Suns, Matt Ishbia, who, if you're sitting there at a game and a ball comes into your lap, you throw it back. You throw it to the ref. You do something. You don't hold the ball and then try to keep it from the player. That's just dumb. And I don't know who the hell he thought he was. He's not a member of the Suns basketball team. He's the owner. And he should not have been interjecting himself into that play at all. Then of course Jokic gives him a little forearm bump. I wouldn't even call it a forearm shiver.
Just
He
a little
just gave him a
forearm
little
from a
nudge.
6'10",
Yeah,
275 pound athlete.
It was a nudge. And
I love how
Ishbia
you
does this
transitioned
flop.
into that and really
You think-
downplayed
You
it.
think Ishbia was flopping there?
He threw his hands up and landed in the chair with his hands up. It was a complete flop. He should have been in the Premier League after that play. And by the way, Isaiah Thomas was standing there next to him, grabbing Jokic by the shirt. What the hell is Isaiah doing there, participating in that? He must be begging for a job with the Suns right now after screwing up the Knicks for so many years. It was just a shit show. The whole thing was a shit show. And if the NBA had suspended Jokic for that, they would be in on the punch too. So I'm giving a roundhouse punch, starting with Jokic, then on to Ishbia, and then Isaiah. And I hope he doesn't get his buddies from the Bad Boys to retaliate.
Wow. All right. First
Wow.
time 3 people have been punched with one punch.
Yeah.
Wow.
Who's capable of it?
All right.
Now, the person who really deserves the punchable face is the announcer for the Oakland A's, Glenn Kuiper.
Oh God.
I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but
Why does this happen once a year?
Yeah, he went with Dallas Braden, the other guy on the staff, on the announcing staff. I guess they went to the Kansas City Royals. They were doing the Kansas City Royals game, and the night before they went to the Negro League museum. And he, instead of saying Negro, says the N-word. And then his apology was as lame as it could be. Oh, he's like, it didn't come out the way I would want it to. Anybody who can't say the word Negro without saying the other word obviously says the other word a whole fucking lot. And he deserves what he got. Because that word would never slip out of my mouth.
Yeah,
when I was trying to say something else.
I'm with you. I haven't heard it. So I don't know if he stuttered over his words and he didn't actually say it. I mean, it just sounded like such a strict, like the apology, the whole thing just didn't make any sense to me.
It's all in the apology too. Like if
the
you're
apology
like,
gave no context. It didn't even mention what happened.
Upset.
It's just like, if you think that something I said didn't come out the way I wanted it to, I apologize. That's just not an apology.
That deserves the biggest punch.
To your point,
Yeah.
Richard, though, thank God no one actually heard it.
Yes, no one heard it. They should have said nothing because no one's listened to the A's Royals game anyway.
Well, yeah, that's definitely a punch.
Terrible.
All right, let's get to some good news. House give a Lasso.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's seen this story. It is, for all the, I don't know, crap that people used to give James Harden, I think we're really seeing what a decent guy he is. I don't know the backstory and how he originally made the connection with this particular guy, but John Howe was a student at Michigan State in that terrible gun violence that happened on campus, and he was paralyzed from it. And Harden created a relationship with this guy, calling him in the hospital and telling him to like keep his spirits up and just take it one day at a time and find every positive they could and just keep believing. And I promise you, I'll get you tickets to a game. Well, of all the games he gets John Howe, he gets tickets to game 4 of the Eastern Conference semifinals, yesterday's game, where Harden goes off. He absolutely goes off. And after the game was over, Harden took off his shoes, signed his shoes, gave them to Howe, and said, "You're the lucky charm, man. If you don't think you're coming back for game 6." And I just thought the whole thing was, we talk about this all the time when we talk about the Lasso. We need to see more examples like this when athletes show that they can really be human beings, care about people, and realize how they can lift other people up. I mean, this kid, he's got a really, really tough life ahead of him. And this gives a few really, really bright moments in his life. And Harden seems to be really genuine about the relationship with this guy. When you hear him talk to him, it's really, really very special. It's very cool. That was a good Lasso moment.
Love it.
Good one. And the other Lassos? All right, buzzer beaters. Who's got one? Anyone?
I got one.
Go.
Yeah, real quick. So, have you guys ever like felt someone's heart explode and like hope come out of their body? Like, yesterday, I felt Paul Miller's like every ounce of his body kind of collapse, and I could feel it from Florida.
Who's
Paul Miller in Toronto?
Moose Jaw.
As Moose Jaw, our correspondent from Canada, who we were going to have on today, but he was emotionally unstable. As Sam Reinhart's goal for the Florida Panthers went in to give them a 3-0 lead against Toronto. I mean, it's really sad for what's happening in Toronto. I really do feel bad for them. I thought once they beat the Lightning that they were over the hump, but not only over the hump, they've gone backwards because they should absolutely not be down 3-0 to this Florida Panthers team. But kudos to the Panthers.
You got a slap for using kudos. You're not supposed to.
Damn it. I couldn't believe they beat the Bruins. I can't believe they're up 3-0 on Toronto. They look like they might be en route to a Stanley Cup. Crazy stuff. But I feel for you, Miller.
And the Kraken keep going too, baby.
And the Kraken.
Yeah.
Can't believe that one. Hey, another shout out to a winner. As all these European soccer leagues wind up, if you didn't see the scenes from Napoli in Serie A, which is the top division of Italian soccer, always it's Juventus, Inter Milan, AC Milan. That's like, they're unbeatable. It's hard to ever get past these teams. And Napoli hadn't won a title since 1990. And kind of like when we were talking about Wrexham, like what it can mean to a town, if you could just watch the 30 seconds of fireworks exploding all over the town, it was a sight to be seen. Congrats to Napoli on being champs of Serie A. It's a long time coming. That was Maradona's team. They're playing in Maradona Stadium. It's really good for that league and for that community.
Yep. I've got a quick question for Bison. What are your Commanders doing trying to coax Andrew Luck out of retirement?
Ooh, that should have been a punch.
So it's funny because I saw the story, right, that they gave a call around or something like that, and Rivera said that, or somebody reported that, I guess, and then Irsay came out and said the team shouldn't be reaching out to him, right?
Yeah,
is that
accusing you of tampering?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
might be giving up a draft pick.
Well, listen, nothing would surprise me. But my buzzer beater is about the happy football team in the nation's capital, and that is that we won't record again before then, but on Saturday at 8 p.m. on ESPN or ABC, I guess it's on ABC, we have the XFL championship game with the DC Defenders, I think that's what they're called, taking on Arlington.
Isn't this on the Ocho? I thought it was on the Ocho.
I mean,
the Renegades.
The announcers are Glenn Kuiper and Dallas Braden.
Oh my God.
This is how low it gets. This is where Moose Jaw is headed. He's going to start paying attention to minor league hockey after a while.
Give us more info, Nace. Give us more info.
Well, the
Can I catch
Defenders
it online?
The Defenders were 9-1 this year, and the Arlington Renegades, who are shocking the world they were 4-6.
The world.
And
they have the 1,500 people who show up and watch the game.
Actually, it's what I
2,000 Rooster.
I don't think I've watched any games, much of any of this.
You bandwagon.
They sell out.
Where do they play?
They play at Audi Field, which is the new stadium for the that was built for the
DC United,
the MLS team. But they've been selling it out. It's a brand new facility. Every game's packed, and people are loving.
They want real football in their city.
What are these two teams called again? The DC what?
Defenders and the Arlington Renegades.
So one of these is going to be Pope's new favorite team pretty soon, right?
This is what happens when you have really bad NFL. We had this in Tampa. The Bandits were more popular than the Bucks in the 80s. I
remember that. I remember that.
Look, it's football, and DC's in the championship game.
Good luck to the Defenders and your esports team too.
That's the DC Justice.
Yes,
that's the name of the esports team. Anybody got anything else?
Quick shout out. Baby. I don't know how we missed this, but don't we have to shout out to Ryan Reynolds for picking up a 4-day Vegas tab for Wrexham?
He did that.
He
Oh,
sent
wow.
all the Wrexham players to Vegas.
I
They had
didn't.
a
I didn't even know that.
4-day fucking bash, like all the night. I mean, it was just he basically paid for a four night party. They're
That's
all
awesome.
Also,
You know,
Also
might have
for-
to give him
for-
might have to give him a punch though. 4 nights in Vegas is way too many.
yeah,
nights
that's
in
that's
Vegas.
one night too many.
He has
That's
some.
one night too many.
He had an or something, some video. He's like, I'm just checking in to make sure everyone's alive. Can y'all like
Yeah.
email me back? It was pretty
For
good.
people my age, I want to give a rest in peace to the great Vita Blue.
Yeah.
Vita Blue.
Yeah.
We'll talk. We'll tell you who that is later, Milk.
I have no idea. I shook my head like I knew, but I don't know who that is.
Oh God. All right, you guys, that's it. Have a good week, everyone.
Yeah.
We'll see y'all.